I've probably done thousands and thousands of feet of ripping off baseboard, and I can't believe it. I've learned two new things. There's a subtle little thing, a variation when it comes to cutting the caulking initially that makes a huge difference. It's going to help you avoid situations like this. And the second thing, I'm ashamed, I'm embarrassed. There's a way of using this little red bar in a way that I never considered, and the technique is lights out incredible. So we'll get into that, and I'm going to show you how to remove baseboard like an absolute pro. Now the first step here is to cut the caulking. A nice sharp utility knife is the way to go. If you have a knife where the blade can extend out like this, that is going to come in really handy a little later on in the video. But for now, we'll put it out to about 3/4 of an inch. The mistake that I used to make, and I see most people who do this job make, is they try to get a little too steep with the knife, kind of cutting and separating the baseboard all in one swoop. What can happen there is it's very easy to swipe down and cut through your molding. And if you're trying to save the moldings, that is not going to be ideal. But even worse really is if you make that cut along like this, you're not going to get all of the caulking cut. And then when you pull that baseboard off, there's going to be a few spots where it's still attached, and it's going to tear the paper up, creating a whole bunch more work. But what I learned from watching this video right here is you want to flatten out the knife and make a nice horizontal cut, cutting through the drywall paper all the way along. That way when you rip off the baseboard, no matter what, it is not going to tear the paper upwards. Now that we've got that caulking cut all the way along the paper, it's time to pry off the baseboard. Now what you want to avoid here is using any kind of a heavy duty crowbar like this one that I clearly have in my hand over here. It's gone. What you want to use is something a little sleeker. Now the Zenith trim puller is an excellent choice here. The design and the fineness of the point here make it a great tool for pulling off any kind of trim, but even better in my opinion is the Richard Red Bar. This thing is sleek and it's a lot more versatile than the trim puller. So take that bar, you want to start off on an outside corner or where the baseboard butts into a casing. It'll be easier to start there. Slip that thing in. You can usually just wiggle it and jam it in with your hands. Once you get that in there, start to pry. Now you could definitely just pry this baseboard off and not worry about anything, and you're not going to have to worry about the paper tearing upwards, but you might be left with a little ridge of caulking that you're probably going to need to shave off when it comes to putting on the new baseboard. So what I like to do is I'll just start to pry, and then I'll work it a little ways. I'll take that utility knife, and I like the extendable blade here. I'll extend the blade out and I'll just shave that caulking right off of the drywall. This is a bit of a dangerous move. The cut-proof gloves are nice here. If you don't want to use the knife, you can also use a little putty knife and scrape that caulking off as you go along. So work your way along. As I get moving, I like to throw in a doorstop just to keep the baseboard from wanting to spring back. It makes it easier to shave the caulking off as you go along. Work your way along. At this point here, I'm not even trying to really rip off the entire baseboard. I'm just cutting that caulking, and then I'll swing back. I'll usually stick the other part of the bar in, get it pulled away from the wall a little bit more, get my hands on there. The gloves have a nice grip, and then just wiggle that baseboard off all the way along. Once you've removed all the baseboards, there could be nails that are stuck into the drywall. You can take some pliers. Any type of pliers is going to work. Grab onto those long nails, spin them out with the linesman. But if you have any short nails that aren't sticking out very far, that are prone to breaking off with the pliers, grab the Richard's Red Bar, use the nail puller on there. I can't believe I've never used this as a nail puller. Use the round part and the leverage, and holy smokes, the nails come out amazing with that bar. Even more impressive, if you ever have any nails that are stuck into a door jamb, those almost always break off. Throw that red bar on there and wham. If you're going to be cleaning up these baseboards and reusing them, the best thing that you can do here is pull all the nails out with the pliers. And for this caulking here that you need to clean up, the putty knife is the best tool for this job. That's going to scrape off that caulking really nicely. It just peels off the caulking like butter, and you're not going to damage the baseboard. I'm not going to be reusing these baseboards, but what I am going to do is clean them up and see if I can sell them online. If you want to find out if they ended up selling, I will put an update, how much they sold for, how long I took to sell them, down in the description. You can check that out along with all the tools that I used in this video. And hey, if you want to see my best tips for homeowners when it comes to reinstalling baseboards, you can check that out right over here. But you will see there's a couple instances, I can't say that word. There's a couple cases where I bought this cat for myself.